Hello everybody, I'm Roadblock and this is a Raid Shadow Legends video. So I know I haven't put out an update on the free-to-play account in a couple of days. A lot of that's been due to me getting pretty sunburnt. I don't know how well that shows up on camera. As well as just coordinating family activities and also live streaming. Now I did release that account takeover video. If you can kind of see, right, if you go and look at my average number of views and stuff, it doesn't feel like that video kind of hit as hard. Not really maybe what you guys are looking to see out of my content. But I do have a request. So this is why leaving comments like this is really helpful, or posting in the Discord is really helpful. Now, admittedly, this came from my guild's Discord, which, you know, is just for my guild or my clan in the game. But I did want to kind of share it with you guys. Can I make this bigger? Not really, but this will be fine. So it says, "Hey RB, would love to see how you approach hard dungeons when in mid-game, like on your free-to-play account. There's lots of videos out there, but mostly end-game, like having 2 level 60 nail doors for Fire Knight Hard. I haven't got that. Maybe it's not achievable until further down the line for me, but would love to know your strategy for them." Well, that's a great proposition, and it's a great motivator for me to find something to do in the game as far as content. One of the biggest issues I run into when making content is having the motivation to make a video. I recorded 3 different times. I recorded a video for you guys that never saw the light of day, never will see the light of day, where I basically talked about the free-to-play account and didn't have any new information to give you guys. None whatsoever. Nothing important. I was just saying, yep, same old, same old. I don't want to do that. I don't want to just release a video for the sake of releasing a video so that I can make, 60 cents off of that video or something. It just doesn't make sense for me, and it certainly doesn't make sense to waste your guys' time. So if there is content that you want to see or content that you want to understand, then let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to make a video on that for you guys to see and kind of better understand. So, here we are. I am not in Fire Knight Hard yet. Why not? Because I'm being lazy. So first thing you got to do is get to Fire Knight Hard. Now, I have a pretty strong Fire Knight team. This is not it, because we recently just did the Fire Knight Epic event, so that was an all Epic team, but that is not my normal Fire Knight team. Now this would be my normal Fire Knight team. Sun Wukong is really only here for wave clear. He's my best wave clear champion. This could be anybody. Newt, pretty obvious why Newt is in here. He has turn meter control on his A1. So first things first, let's talk about how to beat Fire Knight. You don't want Fire Knight to get a turn. If at all possible, you want to manipulate his turn meter so that he doesn't get a turn, but he has a big shield. You cannot manipulate his turn meter until that shield is broken down. That gets broken down by number of hits. So you need double hitter, multi-hitter type champions. I've got a few right here. Sun Wukong is not a multi-hitter, right? So a little bit of a drawback there, but he does good wave clear damage and can clear the waves faster. Armand's doesn't have a multi-hitter, but he has wave control and turn meter control for the boss. So right now, I need to progress into hard Fire Knight. The question is, do I think I can do it with this team? Well, let's see if I can get past this stage. Now, I've got presets set up for this stage, so you're going to see they're all going to use certain abilities a certain number of times. Sorry, let me just get my sound working. There we go. So they're going to use their abilities a certain number of times and control the bosses. But you'll see Armand's probably won't use his stun again. Now, I could use and probably should use Seer as my wave clear here, but I don't really have a big bit of support for her. We're going to have a little bit of time going through the the waves here. So I'm going to stop it here, and then we'll come back. But the waves are pretty basic. Armand controls them, and then we fight our way through. So I will see you in just a second. Okay, so we're just about done with the waves here. Now, one thing that was a mistake on my part was using Sun Wukong a little bit, because this is magic affinity. So he was actually the wrong affinity here, which caused a little bit of problems. But we've made it through. So I don't like that Armand's opens with that. So that's something I should fine-tune in this team a little bit. But we do open with the A1 there. So we're going to try and get through this shield. And then once we do, hopefully we can gain some control. And there we do. Okay. Unfortunately, he does get a turn, but I think we should be able to recover here. I don't like Bless Bash there. Yeah, this isn't really optimized. A little disappointed with that. But you can see we have a much more of a head start here. So let's get these A1s going. That should be turned off. I don't know what is going on with this team. I guess I was just taking for granted the way that Newt and Allure work, and I decided not to fine-tune it, but there's definitely some fine-tuning that I can do here with this team. So we have control now, so the main thing is don't let this turn meter fill up. Now this is regular Fire Knight. Obviously this team is not going to achieve that particular goal. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a team on this account that can do hard Fire Knight, and I was realizing it while I was watching the waves. I'm going to need some extra help. Just to having a Newt doesn't mean that you can do hard Fire Knight. You do have some other champions that you want to have to support your Newt in order to make it work. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Now, why is Newt good against regular Fire Knight and hard Fire Knight? Well, Newt has a triple hitter, and on that triple hitter A1, he reduces the turn meter. You'll see each hit reduced that turn meter right there, right? Well, if the turn meter isn't reduced, then he casts freeze on the target. So, or if it's reduced to where it can't be reduced any further, he will freeze the target. This is extremely beneficial against hard Fire Knight, because hard Fire Knight, when he gets frozen, has his turn meter reduced by a set amount. Instead of actually being frozen, only his turn meter goes down, right? Let me just check this piece. Crit damage, yeah, not great. So now I've progressed one stage further, and so the first thing that you want to do when you're looking to progress is to continue progressing through stage 25. Once you have hard unlocked, then you need to do the fight, of course, right? Now, I'm going to switch over to my main account. This is a little bit opposite of what the request was. However, because I haven't progressed that far on the free-to-play, it makes it a little bit harder for me to demonstrate what you're looking for. Even if you're just doing stage 1, I think doing stage 1 is probably better. And what I would say is, you'll see here, this is my Dragon Hard team. Now, what are the core mechanics of this team? You have your... This is not my Dragon Hard team. That's my Dragon Hard team. Sorry. I want my Fire Knight Hard team. I was realizing, I was like, this isn't the right makeup. Okay. Fire Knight Hard. I have 2 ally attack champions. I have 3 freeze champions. Now, if I was going to make a team like this on the free-to-play to progress hard Fire Knight, I would kind of start with this, but I would need to find some replacements. So I wouldn't use Sun Wukong, and I wouldn't use Armand's, and I wouldn't use Allure either. So instead, I would need to bring something that gives me ally attack. Well, I have an ally attack champion in Kreela. Kreela's not built, unfortunately. She's also not leveled, but this is the team that I would build to pursue hard Fire Knight, because she brings an ally attack. Now, if you're newer to the game, and I know some of you are, you may not understand what ally attack is. So, attacks one enemy, places a stun debuff for one turn, has an 80% or 10%, 10%, so 100% chance of, when booked, you have to book these, of teaming up with 3 random allies to attack a random enemy. Allies joining the attack will use their default skill. Well, when you're fighting Fire Knight, there's only one enemy, so the random enemy will be Fire Knight. It only teams up with 3 random allies, though, not your full team. So Kreela isn't the ideal candidate for this, but that's who I would use. I would use Newt. I would keep Deacon because he's my only really good speed or a lead right now. What is the speed or a lead for Rey? I'm just curious. She's 50. Okay, so if I could get Rey in the team, I could try that, but it's relatively inconsistent, her freezing. Another champion I would bring that brings the freeze would be Yakarl. So if we look at Yakarl's kit right here, we have a 2x hitter on the A1. Each hit has a chance of placing a freeze debuff. We have a... Is it really only a single hit? I thought this was a multi-hit, but single hit, and it has a higher chance of placing a freeze debuff. So freeze on the A1, freeze on the A2, and freeze on the A3, which is an AoE attack. So he gets to control some turn meter a little bit. Is he the best at this? No, but he's pretty decent at it because you do get that 2x hitter. I would prefer for this to be a larger number of hits, but it would work. So there we go. We've got those two. 2 freezes on the earlier stages, especially with an ally attack, is pretty viable. So then what you're looking for is to clear the shield faster. A good champion for shield clearing would be Coldheart. I used to run a team that used Coldheart in it for Fire Knight because her A1 is a quadruple hitter, so a 4x hitter. Again, it's at random, but there's one target, so all 4 hits will hit the shield and reduce that shield of Fire Knight down. Once you take that shield down, then you just keep freezing him and maintain control that way. But on this account, I actually have some really good champions that you may have as well. They're relatively common. We're going to go with the freeze debuff here. So I have both Neldor and Cryodan. Now, Newt is arguably better than both of these because of he has the 100% chance of placing freeze, right, on the A1 if the target's turn meter is not decreased, right? So because Fire Knight Hard is immune to turn meter decreasing, that means that this freeze mechanic will happen. So you're going to see the freezes out of the A1, right? With Cryodan, you've got 25, 30, 35% chance of a freeze debuff. But the important thing is this is a triple hitter. So even if you're not freezing, using this triple hitter can break through that shield faster. Likewise with Neldor, a 3x hitter, 30% chance of freezing, but 35, 40% chance when booked. And it's a triple hitter. You also have a quadruple hitter here, which would be great to open up with when the shield is still active. So you get to the 3rd stage and you say, hey, open up with the A4 and then use the A3 for the rest of the fight. There's also the passive, which allows whenever an ally places a freeze debuff, this champion has the 30% chance to attack the target with their default skill, which could give you more freezes. So Neldor is really good in that regard. Cryodan is just as good. Cryodan also has a 2x hitter AoE. Each hit has a 45, 55, 65% chance of placing a freeze debuff. And then turn meter fill on the allies, as well as turn meter fill on the allies, as well as decrease speed, or increase speed, sorry. Either one of these are very viable options here. Neldor is arguably better, but what I love about Cryodan is the AoE crowd control. So if you look on my main account, you'll see I actually use Cryodan. I have Neldor. I think I've leveled my Neldor. I have. But what Cryodan brings is more control for the waves in his freeze. Because I have double Newt, I don't need Neldor's freeze too much. But let's go ahead and show you this team in action. I'm going to turn on Super Raids because I do want an opportunity to get more Savage gear on this. Oh, let me talk about the other two characters. So I have an ally attack here in Padrig, and I have an ally attack here in Lady Mikage, who is a free mythical that you could get. So if we look here, she has she gives increased attack and crit damage on all allies, then teams up with them to attack a single enemy. The allies use their default skills. So that means I'm going to get freeze out of the A1, freeze out of the A1, freeze out of the A1. If we go back over to Padrig, so Padrig teams up with all allies to attack a single enemy. The allies joining attack use their default skills. Now, he also restores destroyed max HP, which is good because Fire Knight destroys your max HP when he hits you. So Padrig is a good counter to that. But Padrig also brings speed in dungeons by 25%. So I'm going to go ahead and let this team run. Now, this team also suffers from the wave content being a little too long. I don't know what difficulty I just ran this on. So let me end that real quick. That was only stage 1. That would have been fine. I can consistently do stage 6. So we're going to run this. Now, again, this is counterintuitive, right, to the comment that was left, because they said having 2 level 60 Neldors for Fire Knight Heart. The problem is that's a big part of the secrets to it, is having those freeze mechanics in order to get through the content. Now, I like Cryodan. As you can see, everyone is frozen. It's also worth noting, though, that everyone is also stunned. So do I really gain anything by bringing Cryodan over Lady Mikage? Yes. And here's why. So because of the Lady Mikage kit, because she has 2 builds, it's actually really difficult for the AI to be able to tell her, hey, I want you to use the stun and then not use it after you open with it, because she's not opening with it. She has to transform first. So I've tried it, and maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I wasn't explaining it right. But with Lady Mikage, I told her, hey, open with the stun, don't use it anymore. So then she would open with the transformation and then not use her stun at all, which was frustrating. Right now I have it just use all your abilities as you see fit. You can see she also stunned them, and Cryodan also freezes them. It's a kind of a wonky thing. I don't know if anyone else has had this problem or if it's something that I did incorrectly, but I have to have her transform into this spider phase in order to do the stun. So I couldn't figure out how to make it so she only uses it once, because that's all I wanted her to do. I want her to stun everybody once, we have them crowd controlled, and then we just go about and keep fighting them, right? Either way, the wave does take a little bit longer than I would like, but it's not as bad as what we saw on the free-to-play, where it was taking quite a bit longer because in my brilliance, I used a nuker that was weak affinity to the to the squad. All right, so we fired our way through, and now here we are. Now I'm going to open with an ally attack. So what we have an 18 shield, so all those multi-hits have lowered that shield. Then I come in with another multi-hit A1. Lady Mikage transforms and says, hey, everybody ally attack. We all ally attack, and we bring that turn meter down. And then now we're back into normal Fire Knight. All about turn meter controlling with the A1s. I think I have one of the newts set to only use his A1 and not even use his Blessed Bash. So I think you're going to see this newt is just going to keep using his A1, while this one could potentially use Blessed Bash. The other thing that Padraig brings, you just heard that ding, 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 ding sound. That is the decreasing of cooldowns, which will allow us to use certain cooldowns more often, like Blessed Bash in particular, which is one that I would really like to see more. We're going to continue to use the ally attacks. This just guarantees full turn meter control on the boss throughout the duration of the fight. And you can see where we're getting all that decreased turn meter. And I realize that this isn't necessarily helpful because it's counterintuitive to the request. It said, well, I don't have 2 Neldors. I'm sure he doesn't have 2 newts. The reality is you need to treat turn meter control on Fire Knight. You need to treat freeze on hard Fire Knight the same way you treat turn meter control on Fire Knight. You need to have something. If you don't have any turn meter control, you are going to struggle on this fight. The best way of doing that is Cryodan, is Neldor, is Yakarl, is a free option we all get. It's only a 2x hitter, but it does still serve the purpose. The other thing you're really going to need is ally attack. Now, there is another strategy that you can do. I've used it before, which was a counterattack strategy. I used my Valkyrie. I gave my team a big, giant shield, and I had counterattack on all of them, and the Fire Knight would attack, and then in the counterattacking, we would break the shield that way. So he would get 1 turn. We would break the shield off of the counterattack because everybody would get a free round of hitting. And then we would maintain control from then on because his shield would be gone. But the easiest way to do it is ally attackers like Lady Mikage, Padraig. I have a few on this account. Let me check this gear and see. Yeah, it's 6-star. I'll keep that one. So on this account, I actually do have quite a few ally attackers. So I have Longbeard, there's Grand Oak, there's Farrakhan. I didn't know Lady Atessa had one, to be honest, but it's only 2 random allies. And Catacomb, also 2 random allies. I have more. Are they not counting? Or maybe she's in the vault. Hang on. Because there's a particular one that I have that was not listed there. Well, I wasn't even thinking of Lanikista Chosen. Let me find her and find out why she's not showing up for me. Because I know I have her. Morag. Do I not have a copy of Morag anymore? I don't. Silly me. So you can clearly see I have pulled a Morag before, and in my ignorance, I have fed a Morag, but she also has a 2 random ally attack. Now, those are less consistent and more frustrating to work with, but if you have ally attack and you have freeze champions, then I would recommend giving them a shot. Now, I'm going to look. This is my deeper roster, so I'm going to look who on this account can bring freeze. Obviously, Yakarl. We talked about Yakarl. Tormund, not so much, actually. He does have a chance to place freeze on the A1, but you'll notice a lot of the rest of the kit doesn't have freeze. It's just freeze when they whenever they receive a buff or have their turn meter filled. I suppose that works, but I don't know that Torment is the best option to go up against Fire Knight hard. You've got Cryodan, you've got Neldor. Gory used to be considered a pretty interesting option. You've got a 3 times with a 100% chance of placing the freeze debuff, but it is on a 3-turn cooldown, so you would need to find a way to rotate. You'd have to be very quick to rotate through this. Gory is actually, however, an interesting option when paired with Lady Mikage, except for the fact that the freeze is not on the A1, which is unfortunate. So kind of not as good there. You've got Pan, who has a 2 times hitter with a freeze on there. So that's an option if you happen to have Pan. I think that Pan was part of a fusion, but I could be wrong about that. I don't remember. No, maybe no, not part of a fusion. No, I would have remembered that. Luthia has a 3 times hitter with freeze on an A2, but that's inconsistent and on a 3-turn cooldown. Jingle Hunter is a very poor option because it's a single target hitter. But there may be options that you have that you could possibly use to try and get through, or try to get that turn meter control once you're through the shield. But freeze is really what you're looking for. I do think Yukaro is a good free option because everybody can get Yukaro from the clan shop. Newt obviously is the best. And then you have Neldor and Cryodan, who honestly are pretty easy to pull. I don't know if there are different rates for them, but I've pulled them both on my free-to-play. Obviously, in Matt's case on the comment here, he has not pulled them, but that's kind of what you're looking for. And as far as progression goes, you just tinker with the team until you find the speed that works. So kind of like I'm doing here. So I just talked about the misoptimization of this team. We saw a lot of bad things happen. Armand's opened with his A3. I have the wrong wave clear here. This doesn't help me against the wave. Well, it didn't help me against the previous waves. It would be better on this stage because it's... but I have better wave clear champions in general. So I might want to consider swapping some of them out. Now, I don't have activators for Seer. Certainly not in this team either. So maybe not Seer, but I could consider Yukaro. I could even consider maybe Rathalos, who can, cycle through to his AoE hit and potentially clear the waves. I'll keep Sun Wukong now that I'm not negative affinity. It should be a little bit better. But let's go in and talk about how to use this system. This is very important. You'll see I have no... Yeah, I turned off Sheep, but I'm still using Greatest Hits nonstop. Newt has certain directions. So I've done some stuff, but I haven't really done everything. So you really want to take a look and say, okay, use whatever you want on the first one. I guess I do, since I'm on a 3-turn cooldown, I guess I'm fine just doing this. Newt can use whatever, Allure can use whatever, Sun Wukong can use whatever. Wave 2, I want to not use Blessed Bash. I want to have that available. For Armand's, I think I'm okay not using this as much as I need, but saving it. And for Deacon, you see Deacon's kind of using whatever. Let me come to round 3 here. So for round 3, I do want Deacon to open with time compression, if it's available, and then sweeping Retribution, because I want to generate turn meter for my team. I want this off, but I also want to open with the A1. That shield is always going to be up by the time Armand puts this turn meter control effect into action. I would rather save this and not use it when the shield is up. So let's open with the A1 and then use the A2 when the shield is down. Again, we're opening with Dwarven Might, the A1, to get that shield down. But I want to turn this off. I don't want to waste a turn with Fury of the King. I would rather turn meter control with that A1. Fury of the King is great. It places Weaken. I would be thrilled to have Weaken. It increases the damage I do against the boss. And it gives me counterattacks if the boss does get a turn. Newt could potentially still break down turn meter. However, in using that, I'm giving him essentially 45% turn meter that I should have reduced and didn't. I'm willing to give him turn meter for Blast Bash because that destroys his health much faster than anything else, but I'm not willing to give it for a little bit of decreased attack and weaken and a counterattack buff when we clearly saw I'm going to maintain control on him the entire time if I'm A1ing. So, and then Allure is only using the A1. Sun Wukong, I don't care what he uses here. He's only for wave clear. So let's go ahead and test this now on a slightly more difficult team. I think. I don't know what stage this just was, but now in a better world I would have set up and use a Seer because she does way more damage than Sun Wukong, but you'll see Sun Wukong will be pretty effective here. That's pretty reasonable damage. We can get through these waves pretty quickly. We're keeping them controlled as well. Still taking longer than what we were seeing in Hard Fire Night with my main team, but keep in mind that gear is a factor, of course, and you want to make sure that you're playing to your strengths. Once I get a better build on my Sun Wukong as well, this will go faster. He's not in Savage gear or anything like that, but we are progressing and getting some damage in over a period of time. So if you think, too, one thing that they are smart and kind of nice about is probably the better word in Hard Fire Night is they're usually not as tough of waves. So dealing with the waves becomes less of a major issue. You can kind of take care of the wave. You just lock down the waves with freeze from Cryodan and maybe a little bit of stun from Mikage, which is what I did. But you'll see this is still going much faster since I'm not negative affinity like I was earlier. And we move on to the boss fight. Now let's see how my changes go. So we open with the A1 rather than wasting a valuable A2. We open with the A1 from Newt. A1 there. Now, even then it's still not perfect. I was going to say in a perfect world, I'd have an ally protector or ally attacker to break that shield down a little bit better. Blessed Bash there is nice, but I almost wish that I could use the A1 a second time to maintain that turn meter control. Thankfully, Allure bails me out, and now Newt is, instead of doing his A2, he comes in with the A1, right? Allure is only A1ing, and that's all of our turn meter control right there. Armand's brings it down even further, and now we are firmly in control. Now, that was very close to being where Fire Knight would have got a turn, but that's fine. I still think we would have recovered reasonably well and been able to finish off that turn meter in a timely manner. So we come in and we maintain this control, and I just continue to do this progression until I get to Hard Fire Knight. but I don't think I have a reasonable hard Fire Knight team right now until I build Cryodan or Neldor. I would build Neldor. I think he's a little bit better. I do like Cryodan for the waves. However, I'd also be bringing Yakarl and Cryodan and Newt. So that's... Yakarl will give me the freeze on the waves as well as the nuking because he can hit pretty hard. As well, so Neldor would bring a more A1 and bring that A2 for quad hitter, right? So that would probably be who I bring. I now have a reason to push this. You guys have given me the motivation. You're asking me to do it. So I'm going to continue to push Fire Knight, and hopefully in my next episode, I will go through the motions of how I will progress individually trying to focus Fire Knight hard. I have said that I wanted to build where is she? Mithrala, but I really think I'm gonna have fun building a team for Fire Knight hard, especially now that you guys want to see it. Also, a quick shout out to somebody like Razzlevarg. So Razzlevarg does have a multi-hitter A1. If you're struggling, kind of like I said that you could use Cold Heart with that quad hitter, Razzlevarg with his speed gain and everything that he brings, also a big aura for the battles. He could be a viable... If I had him leveled, I would replace my Deacon with him because of the speed aura. He doesn't grant the extra turn, but he does grant speed, and he himself gains a lot of speed, gets a lot of A1s in to break down that shield very quickly. And then once the shield is broken, you saw we can maintain control. Hopefully we have enough speed, enough freeze, rather. And then he's also giving us increased speed and increased accuracy, which can become a problem for Fire Knight hard as well, as his resistance goes up, and you'll need more accuracy to land even the A1s of your champions. So that's a viable option. Another viable option that's really basic would be like an Apothecary. Apothecary gives you turn meter, gives you speed, but also a triple hitter. Those are best in scenarios where you don't have an ally attack champion and you need to find a way to break down that shield using the resources that you have. So you can say, okay, Apothecary, I need you to break down that shield. Maybe try Relentless set or something like that to break that shield down. I think Razzlevarg's a good option for that because he can break down the shield, but also give you speed aura and give you turn meter. Or not turn meter, but give you increased speed on the team as well. And he can hit quite hard for the waves too, which is very, very handy. So I hope that kind of helps. I look forward to continuing to progress in Fire Knight and give you guys an update on Fire Knight hard, hopefully by the next video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please consider subscribing. It is the best way to support this channel right now. Also, clicking that like button will help my individual videos each get more eyeballs on them. That exposes me to more subscribers, more viewers, which then in turn can give me more motivation, just like this comment did, to make more raid content for you guys and maybe help you with an area of the game that you're struggling in. If you have an area of the game that you're struggling in and you want my thoughts and my opinions on how I approach it, feel free to let me know in the comments of this video or at me in my Discord channel, which is in the description of this video as well. I'm pretty quick to respond, or I'll just not say anything and just randomly make a video and shout you out in it. So please feel free to do those things. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.